Right, so you are welcome back to chapter 2. We are taking a new chapter today, and that is chapter 2. We are done with chapter 1 that talks about introduction and definition of CRM. We've known what CRM means. We've known how firms reduces customer defection, and we've also ascertained the benefit of CRM. Now today we are now looking at the evolution of CRM. That is, when did CRM started its operation in the world? When did businesses started carrying out customer relationship management from the ancient time? We want to learn it from the evolution of customer relationship management. Okay, now under this we are going to look at the below subject of discussion. We'll look at evolution of customer relation management. Okay, then we'll look at transactional versus relationship approach to customer relationship management. We'll also look at the key points of customer relationship management. We'll look at the key points and then we conclude. Okay, we'll now conclude. It's short and brief, but you have to understand it. That's the most important thing. Okay, our objective is to explain the evolution of customer relationship management, to know transactional versus relationship approach, and the key points of customer relationship management. That's what we want to achieve after the end of this teaching. Let's start by explaining the evolution of customer relationship management. Let's try to know the history behind customer relationship management. Alright, so let's start with the first one, evolution of customer relationship management. When we talk about the evolution, we are talking about the ancient stories in the past of how businesses started using this word or these techniques called customer relationship management. You know, I told you in the last topic or in the last chapter that customer relationship management is a strategy used by firms to build good relationship with customer in order to keep their loyalty, to retain them, and to also sell to them and make profit from them. Okay, let's take note of that. We want to see where did this customer relationship management started in the modern or ancient world. Okay, the modern concept of customer relationship service or the modern concept of customer service has its roots in craftsman economy of 1800s. Please take note of that. Craftsman economy of 1800s. I want you to take note of this word. So customer relationship service was called customer service then, and this customer service was a system that was used, and it started in the 1800s, and they call it craftsman. It was even in the middle. Okay, let's look at it from, we can't call it the middle, we can't call it the last century, because this is not even in the 19th, it is in the 18th. So we can say the last 2 centuries ago. Okay, practice that started in the last 2 centuries ago. All right, now in the 1800s, there is what we call the craftsman economy, and the craftsman economy system was a system that established what we refer to as customer service. And how did they establish this customer service? What were they doing in their time? Now, in the time of craftsman economy of 1800, individual and small groups of producers compete with each other. Are you there? How do they compete? Now you might want to ask, what are they producing then? They were producing what we call all these craftsmanship products that they use in fighting. Okay, product of art, product of craft used for fighting. Some of these objects of fighting each other's. Some of those spears, axe, arrow, and some other things. Some of those producers who produce it, they've already started practicing what we call craftsman economy. And what were they doing? What they did is that they produced some of these arts products, these craft products, for the purpose of meeting the public need, the public demand. Okay? Now they were doing this because they know that people will need it, people will want to use it for the purpose of self-defense, for the purpose of protecting themselves, and for the purpose of having security for themselves. And so in those days, individuals, orders were booked for each customer and supply according to his or her taste and demand. So anybody that need a particular kind of art will meet the manufacturers, tell them the exact pattern, the exact one they want, and then based on their need, the manufacturer will produce it based on their need and send it to them. That was the ancient craftsman economy, 1800. That was how they were meeting the services of customers. Customers will book where they want to buy, or where they want the producers to produce and supply to them, and then producers will take it and then produce a product that is in line with their demand and then supply it to them. The economies were small, and so were transactions, you see, because people were few, then the economy too was not that large like our present day economy, and so the transactions they carried out was few. The manufacturers was able to meet the customers on one-to-one basis. You see that? So it's not like our days whereby so many customers of a firm are far from where the firm is producing their product. So many customers of a firm don't even know the producers by face, but they just know the company by name and by logo and by advertisement. Okay? So we have not seen those who are producing it, but we just know that this company exists and they are producing a particular kind of product. That's in our present day. The manufacturer was able to meet customers one-to-one basis and talk to customers under the minute details. Customers' care and services were highly personalized. You see that? They meet them one-on-one, and any care they want to give, they do it personally to them. But then the economic swing was setting in. Technology was increasing, and so was difficult to cater to the individualist. You see that as technology begins to advance, and then technology begins to creep in, and then things begins to get better, the economy begins to get larger, individualist needs of customers could no longer be met again, and that now give way to the era of what we call mass production. So we left the era of craftsman economy in 1800 to the era of mass production. Okay? Now, what happened in the era of mass production as it relates to the evolution of customer relationship management? We have seen the first one. The first one is the craftsman economy of 1800, and it talks about how products of arts and crafts were produced by manufacturers to meet the needs and the specification of their customers. That was what we saw, and as a result of the fact that technology now came in, there was now advancement in production, that individual producers could no longer be meeting the individualist needs of customers because of the need to produce product at a larger scale to meet larger customers as the economy is growing. So technology now came in we now move to the era of what we call mass production. Now, the era of mass production started in the early 20s. In the early 20th century, it started. Now, when this era started, it was followed by an explosion in demand for goods after World War II. After which war? After World War II. So, World War II came, and after World War II, there was highly demand for goods. So many people lost their house, they lost their properties, they lost so many things that relates to them. So after that World War II, people were highly in demand for different goods, different products. So the event of technology now encourage and facilitates the need for mass production of goods. So as a result of that mass production of goods, there was increase in power of suppliers, because suppliers were few and demand was very high. Did you understand? There were few suppliers, but demands for product was very, very high. Now, as a result of the fact that suppliers were few and demand for products were high, what happens? It leads to the expense of consumers. Thus, it reduced the importance of consumer services. You see that? The suppliers, were no longer providing services to the taste and to the need of consumer. Why? Because they felt consumers are much. They felt customers are much. They felt there are a lot of customers they want to attend to. So even if they begin to build relationship, they never saw the customers as important again, because they felt if this one doesn't patronize them, others will patronize them. And they felt because they are few, no customers can behave rash on them. They are like the king. Customers were not as important as they are, because in that economy, demand was so high. And the people that are supplying were just few. So the suppliers never saw customers as important, because competitors were not much and demand for goods was high. So customers was not as important to them. That does not mean they are not producing for customers. So the relationship to keep customer was not as important to them, because they believed there are enormous of them. Unlike that of the first economy that we just look at. Take note of that. History tells us that customer service as a concept was kept aside in the cell during this period. The manufacturers could produce what they could, and this will find their way to customers on their own. You see that? Producers produce what they want to produce, and then when customers need it, they find their way to the producer's environment to get it. So producers were not after them. They were not after customers, but customers were after producers during this period. It was the age of demand exceeding supplies. Did I not tell you before? I said it before, that it was the age whereby the demand for products was so high that it even exceeds what the suppliers can sell. So the suppliers are not even begging. The manufacturers does not even have time for them. Whatever they can produce, they produce and give. And then when they produce it, they keep it in their store. When they need it, they go. Unlike the first economy, that when they produce, they take it to the customer's environment and discuss the importance of it before convincing the customer to buy and before they sell to them. Did you see the difference between mass production economy in the 20th century and the craftsman economy of the 1800s? Okay, now take note of some of these things I'm explaining, because they will ask you in your exam. There was no need for customer service as an activity or as a tool for promoting or enhancing marketing. The reason is what I've told you before. There was no need, because demand was extremely high above what needs to be supplied. So customers were not kings during these days. Customers were like servants. They were even looking for any supplier that can supply and give them what they want. But things never remained the same for a long period of time. Did you hear that? A shift in this balance began in the 1970s as international competition increased and the dominance of Western manufacturers was challenged. You see that? The dominance of the Western European world producing was challenged because other Asian countries like the Japan, the Korea, the China, and other economies, they begin to come up with the idea of producing. So the power of the Western world, the European world being the producer of goods, were broken down by the Asian world. The Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, they came up with development of technologies too, and they begin to produce. The new world emerged with the Eastern economics taking to tremendous growth. So the Asian economics are seen as the Eastern economics. The European economics are seen as the Western economics. Are you taking note of that? Okay. So when the Eastern economics came up, they came up with the idea of producing, and then that helped to die down the competition. The Eastern, it doesn't die down, it even increased the competition. It helped to die down the power of the Western manufacturer as the only people that supply goods, making them not to see much need of customer relation. So the Eastern economics, taking tremendous growth producers, responded by improving the quality of their products and services. CRM is based on principles of relationship marketing, which is regarded as one of the key areas of modern marketing and has generated great results, interest. That's what Chef said in 2000. We view RM as a paradigmatic or as a paradigmatic shift in marketing. That is what Grunroof said in 1997. Gomerson too supported it. Pavatier and Shet of 1997 too supported it. The increased interest in one-to-one marketing, Peppers and Rogers 1993 raised the potential for shifting from a mass to mass individual one-to-one marketing. In recent review of the CRM, which was written by Bonding et al. In 2005, and it argued that the field of CRM has now begun. Are you there? To converge on a common definition. Specifically, CRM relates to strategy, managing the dual creation of value, and intelligent use of data and technology, the acquisition of customer knowledge, and diffusion of knowledge to appropriate stakeholders, the development of appropriate long-term relationship with specific customers and customers groups, and the integration of process across the many areas of firms and across the networks that collaborate, generate customers' value. Let me just chip in this. The interfunctional coordination and customer orientation is highlighted in increasing the body of work on market orientation, e.g. the Coley and the Jacqueline of 1990. However, much of the literature on CRM has underemphasized its cross-functional nature, and we post this in a neglected and critical component of CRM.